So when I started freelancing, I really had no business plan, no marketing, no idea what I was doing really. All I knew was I wanted to get away from the rat race, the 9 to 5. I wanted control over my days. I wanted to build something that was for me and take control over my career. I'd worked for over 10 years in various different organizations and I was bored of it. I just wanted to do my own thing. In the time since I decided to start going freelance and now, I've come such a long way. I've built a 6-figure business that will turn over 12,000 euro this month. But more importantly, I absolutely love my life, my working life. I look forward to Mondays, which is so different to where I was in a job that I wasn't very happy in and was dreading Mondays and Sundays. I really started to hate. And I help other freelancers now. I'm trying to help people to see what's available to them, that you can take control of your career, of your working day, and also thrive while you do it. So you can enjoy your freedom in your day, but also make more money. The question that always comes up most is when people see what I do and they say, I'd love to do what you do. How do I start? Where do I start? And it's the most overwhelming thing is starting. But for me, and I'm not saying this is exactly how you do it, but I'm just gonna share how I did it, and how I got to this place. And I remember starting and how overwhelming it was. But let me go through the biggest things that I think are what you need to consider and keep front of mind if you're starting a freelance business. So usually here I just talk and see where it goes, but I do have a few bullet points this time, so forgive me as I check and remind myself what they are. But the biggest thing really is, and like I said, I had no plan, I had no marketing, I didn't have a website, I didn't start with those things. I just started, and that might sound so cliche and simple, but that's what I did. And I felt like if I just made that first step, everything else over time is really important, would start to figure itself out. And for me, the go-to where, okay, I'm an introvert. I'm not the best at putting myself out there. So the one for me was freelance websites, and Upwork was the one for me. That's where I started. And my mentality, my mindset at the beginning was not, how can I go in here and make a ton of money? That's not the mindset I started with. It was, how can I get my first job? How can I get a job? And I didn't care what it paid. I just wanted to go in and test that I could go and make connections, that I could go and apply for jobs and actually get one. And that's what I mean by starting somewhere. I think, a lot of people look down on the likes of Upwork and Fiverr, and it's a race to the bottom and all this kind of thing. But there's so many benefits, which I'll go into with platforms like this. For me, like I say, it was Upwork. I tried Fiverr as well, and it wasn't for me. It didn't really click. But I know other people have been massively successful on Fiverr and built huge businesses there. But the thing for me was, okay, I'm an introvert. I struggle to make connections, put myself out there. So let's go to the place where I know people are looking. There's people on these platforms looking for people to do jobs for them. That is the long and short of it. So let's go on there and let's figure out how I can get a client, make a start. And believe it or not, I say I make 6 figures. My very first job on Upwork was $6 an hour. Laughable. And sure, a lot of people, peers and people I worked with at the time, you had to tell them, yeah, I'm doing some freelance work. Yeah, it's $6 an hour. They would have laughed. But, this is what it takes. It takes making that start. It takes beginning somewhere. You just need that one project, that one starter to show what you can do. And it's all about making connection and proving that you can do this. And that's where you make that start. And I think not focusing on money is so key. I think too many people go into it going, I want to make money and I want to make it fast. And if I don't make it fast, then I'm going to give up. And that's what happens. They go into it and they start and they don't feel like they're making enough money. They're getting jobs and it's taking them too long. They're not getting paid enough. But you need to forget about the money. Just can you get that first job? You have to remember that Upwork is a review-based platform. People are going to buy from you based on your reviews. So this is the most important thing, is that, yes, you're making a connection, you're getting started, but it's a chance for you to get those 5 stars, to go in, do a good job, get 5 stars and a really strong review. And this is exactly what happened for me. It only took 2 or 3 jobs where I got 5-star reviews, and then it was much easier to sell to people. People are not going to buy from you because of where you've worked or awards you've won or how great you say you are. They need social proof from the platform they're on. It means so much more. And to see that other people have bought from you and been really happy and given 5-star reviews, that is the starting point and the basis of how you're going to grow on a freelance platform like Upwork. So that's why I say don't focus on the money. Focus on making that first connection, getting that first job, getting those first 5 stars. And here's the big mistake I see people make. Experienced people who have a lot of experience doing a certain type of job. Let's say for me, it was audio editing and video editing. For other people, it might be copywriting, Google Ads, whatever it might be. You might have a ton of experience in another, in an industry. And then you decide, I want to do freelance and I'm going to go on Upwork. And the biggest mistake I see people make when they start freelancing is they think that experience in the industry actually matters, when it doesn't. It doesn't matter. What matters is what you've done on the platform. And so they go onto Upwork, they set up their profile and talk about all the things they can do and set their rate to what they feel is their industry rate. And that's the wrong place to start, because why would anyone ever hire from somebody who has no reviews and is charging $50 an hour to somebody who has 100 reviews and is also charging $50 an hour? You've got to take that into consideration as to where you are, not just in your industry, but on the platform. And unfortunately, when you're going in at ground zero, that's where you are. You're at ground zero. The person who has 10 years experience in industry, but no Upwork reviews, will always lose out to the person who has 2 years industry experience, but 20 reviews on Upwork. It's simple as that. So you got to set your pricing and your offerings with that in mind. And that's why I say not focusing on money at the start is super important, to go, how can I just get that first connection? Because that can lead to so much more. It can lead to reviews and referrals and everything else, but you got to make a start. So like I say, my first job was $6 an hour. I then went to 12. Then I was able to go 15. And very, little by little, you're able to start pitching slightly higher and, figure out what your pricing is as well. So don't go in there thinking you have a ton of experience, so you deserve to be able to charge $50 or $100 an hour based on your experience, because that's never going to work. But it is a mistake I see people make all the time. So offer to prove yourself is what I'm saying. This might be a bit of a controversial one, but it's one I use all the time, is to offer to do something free of charge or a very low rate. But make sure it's a small thing. Make sure it's not something you're going to be taking weeks on. But to be able to go, listen, let me have an opportunity here. Let's have no risk or low risk, at least low risk. Make it as frictionless for them as possible to say, listen, let me do this small sample for you. Let me do this test run for you. And then if you're happy with that, we can work out a rate from there. And make sure again that rate isn't outrageous, that it's competing with the other people who are going to be applying for the job who have a ton of reviews. So that's one I continue to use. I've earned well over $100,000 on Upwork, and with potential new clients, I still sometimes say to them, listen, let me do something for you for free. let me just show you what I can do. And it shows confidence. It shows that I have an ability to believe in myself, that I'm going to deliver, and we're going to have a relationship after this. And more often than not, what happens is that they're really happy with the work that's provided, and they insist on paying anyway. So it's a great way to bring new clients in to say, let's have this low risk for you, because it's all about risk. And I've been on the other end of I hire people on Upwork as well, and it's such an easy thing to buy into when somebody says, here's something low risk, and give me an opportunity, and then we can work it out from there. Especially if it's an ongoing project or payment that they're offering. It's just such an easy way to get yourself over the line. Moving on to the next one, that the big mistake I see people make on freelance platforms like Upwork is that they love to talk about themselves. And I've kind of mentioned this already, but the pitch being, here's all the things I can do. Here's all the places I've worked. I'm great. I've won awards. I can do everything. And that doesn't resonate with a buyer. Like I say, I've been on the other end of hiring on Upwork. I do it regularly. I post jobs, sometimes looking for video editors, audio editors. And more often than not, what I get is in proposals is a CV, and it's boring. Here's who I am, and here's all the things I can do. And what really stands out to me is when somebody says something that means they've actually gone to a little bit of extra effort. I always sprinkle a couple of clues into my Upwork job postings that, might be my website or the service that I'm looking to run. And when people start there, so if I say I'm running a podcast production service called Podlad, or I might throw in a couple of other clues for somebody to say, I've had a look at your website, and I love what you're doing, or here's why I think I'd be a good fit because you said this in your website. That's an immediate, that person goes on a shortlist straight away, compared to somebody going, hey, my name is, and I've done this type of work, that type of work, worked here, there, and everywhere. Because the vast majority of proposals are just like that. They're just, here's all about me. When somebody starts with, here's something about you, the client, that changes everything. That you're on the shortlist straight away. So you've got to think about how you can make that instant connection with the client. When I was starting out, I used to purposely look for people in Ireland that were posting jobs and go straight in with, hey, I'm an Irish producer. I'd love to connect with another Irish business or business operator or creator. Whereabouts in Ireland are you? And that immediately made that connection. I might have a look at their website and see what their ethos is, and see that they're a solopreneur. They work on their own, and they run a service that in some way I can link to what I do. And they will give away clues in their website, and that's just such an easy way to make that early connection. So look to do that in every proposal. Do not ever copy and paste and keep kind of a template that you just sent to everybody. It just does not work. It's incredible. Every time I write it from scratch, I get responses. Whereas when I copy and paste, and I've been guilty of it as well, copy and paste proposals with the usual generic spiel, it comes across. It comes across that it's a copy and paste. And AI written stuff now comes across as well. You've got to make a connection, especially early on in your proposal. That takes me on to my next point: is to sell outcomes, not services. The tendency in most freelancers is to sell the service. So I'm a podcast editor. I'll say, I'll edit your podcast. I'll tidy up your sound. I'll give you video clips. I'll do your show notes. That's all just stuff. People are going to buy it. It's what they want often, but it's never going to separate you. So I stopped talking about editing, and I stopped talking about software, and I stopped talking about using phrases that I thought made me sound impressive. And I stopped talking about the extra plugins that I had, because that meant nothing to the buyer. And I started talking about how I can help them, not only with their time. I'll take everything off your hands. So all you have to do is go and record and everything else will be on me. And I'll be able to take what you record and craft it into all the elements you need, and I'll take care of everything else for you as well. I'll be able to upload it. I'll be able to, and you will get a ton of your time back. That is one outcome. You'll get your time back. But I started talking as well about not about the editing itself and the technicals of the editing, but what the editing creates. So by, working with me, I'll be able to help you to create trust, authority, and engagement with the person that you're targeting. Not only that, I'll be able to help you figure out who that person is that you're targeting, because that is super important. And I'll be able to help you refine the types of things you'll be talking about, so that you're always aiming at that person. So if you don't know who that person is, we'll work on that. I'll give you a ton of feedback, but I'll be able to help you stop wasting time on episodes on subjects that are never going to get traction. And we'll narrow in on exactly who you should be talking to and the message that you want to get across to them. And because of that, we'll create trust and authority, and people will then look to you as the expert. They're outcomes, they're not services. And that is a massive difference. So that's one to remember as well. Don't sell services, sell outcomes. So my last one, as I check my screen, because I'm not the best presenter, refine and go again. And really that is just taking everything, every project, every client, every price, and redefining it with each one. And so here's the price that I paid. Here's the amount of time I spend on it. That is super important. I have another video about that, a price on its own is meaningless without the time tracked alongside it. And with that, you can start to figure out, where your price point can be, what it can be. And it's brick by brick. It's changing all the time, and that's why just starting somewhere, without even a financial goal, without a expectation to just, can I get my first client? That's where that becomes so important, because that is the first brick to give you the opportunity to redefine. So if you're going to start at $6 an hour, like me, and start to figure out, well, next time, what am I going to do differently? I'm going to try and charge 15. I'm going to see how that goes. I'm going to see who's going to bite. And then in my process, I'm going to maybe do less. I'm going to maybe do less of the stuff that had no impact on the client, that the client didn't notice. What are the things that the client noticed most? What are the things they praised you on? What are the things they look for changes on? And with that, you can really start to refine with each project how much you're charging and what jobs you're actually doing. Because the tendency, and what I did early on, was I tried to show off everything, all the skills I had from years of experience. And I'd take that $6 an hour job, and I'd be doing all sorts of stuff that the client never asked for, never noticed. Where I figured out very quickly what they valued was that they just wanted somebody reliable who they could send stuff to and they could get it back on time. And you start to figure out what clients want and what they don't want, and what they'll pay more for as well. Because inevitably with a new client, they will either refer you or they will offer you more work. The amount of times early on that as an audio editor, I was asked, do you do video? I had a little bit of video experience, but I started to see a pattern of a lot of people are asking for video. I should kind of do more video. And video has become such a big part of my freelance business now. And I also figured out that people are willing to pay more for it. And that is how you just keep refining and keep changing your system and the way you do things. And eventually over time, you see more and more progress. You see your turnover and sales level go up. And that is how I started freelancing and got to where I am. I often compare it to, investing in stocks. You wouldn't invest in stocks and expect to see results in a couple of days. Results don't come quick. It's a process. You got to keep investing in you keep putting in a little bit each time? Can you get more clients? Can you get them to pay a little bit higher than the last one? Can you improve your process for those? As they're paying a little bit more, you're getting more efficient. And with that, you start to see much more profitability. So I hope that helps. If you want any direct help with your freelance business, I'm available. Shoot me a message. I've yet to set up a website or anything for this, really. Again, like I started with my freelance business, I don't really know what I'm doing here. I just thought I'd start recording some videos, see how it goes, try to help people who are in that freelance space. It's a really fun, interesting place to be, but it's difficult, and that starting period is really difficult as well. So I hope that this is of help.